Tips from an RV tech. If you're going to replace the slide floor, this is how you build a new one. So all your slide floors are going to be 3/4 inch to 1 inch thick. This one's 3/4 and it's 12 plus feet long. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to make my own. I've got 2 sheets of 4x8. The bottom piece here is 11/32, and then the other 2 pieces that I have in there are 15/32. If you do the math, that's going to put you about a 1/16 of an inch thicker than the existing floor, excuse me, that's on the unit right now. It's 3/4 inch thick. So a little bit thicker is always better. You don't want to go thinner, that's for sure. So here I'm measuring out 48 inches from the center, and that's going to mark where the new piece of wood is going to set on top. That's also going to give me a good line to know where I'm going to be spraying my glue. And you're going to see me carrying over the new piece of wood, just getting it kind of lined up, and now I'm spraying it all with Wilsonart 950 red contact glue. This stuff, it is extremely good glue. Once you make contact with the 2 sheets of wood, you cannot remove it. You only get one chance to set it down. So you want to make sure that you let the glue set up and dry until it's tacky. Now when you're waiting for this to cure, if it's sticky and it comes off in your finger, that means it's not ready yet. So let it sit here, and I can probably say this area right here. See, you can kind of see the difference. This right here would be good, but the whole thing needs to be good. So let this sit for a little bit, come back and check it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long it takes for this to set up on both pieces. And I'd say this is probably, yeah, this is good now. So we'll give it another 5 minutes or so until this dries. And we'll put them together. And for this part, you should probably use a partner, because like I said, you only get one shot at this. So you want to make sure everything's lined up before you start touching the pieces together, because once you do, it's not going to come back off. Alright, now it's all down. Got it lined up the sides, runs along that line there. And now I'm going to take this other piece, I'm going to cut that in half, and I'm going to do it on the 2 end pieces. And then we'll have one 16-foot long piece of plywood. It's all laminated together, and then we are going to then cut this to size that we need for our floor. And here you can see I'm just cutting that other piece of wood directly in half, 48 inches on each piece, and sweeping off any kind of dirt and dust. And now I'm going to do the same thing, add the contact cement to both pieces, let it set up and cure, and then I'm going to glue them together. And you can see I started to set it down, but I realized the grain wasn't facing the same way, so I turned it around and glued it all down. And I go back through with screws just to hold it down while the glue sets. And then we come around to the other side and do the exact same thing. Line it up, you only get one shot, and screw it down. Alright. Now we're going to let this sit overnight, cure up completely, and then in the morning we'll come back, we'll cut this to the size that we need, and take all the screws out, and then wrap the underside of it with Darko wrap, weatherproofing. Alright, we're back to finishing up this floor. Now we're going to cut it and get it wrapped and everything, so here we go. So I took the old floor, laid it on top of the new floor just to double check and make sure that it's going to fit and it's going to be the right size. And then I measure the old floor, and then I take that measurement, cut it in half, and then measure that same distance from the center. So I make sure I'm cutting the new floor out of the center of the wood that I made. Alright, so we got it cut down to 147, which is the length of the old floor. And now we're going to cut it this distance. But we have to keep in mind that we also have a beveled edge here that we have to cut in. So if you look at the old floor here, you'll see it's not just square. It actually has a bevel here. So this is the top of the floor. So measure 3 inches out, and then we're going to cut a diagonal from the base here up to here, leaving about probably 1/4 1/4 of an inch lip. To cut the bevel, I mark out the 3 inches, and then I take a piece of scrap that I cut off earlier and I screw it to the back side so that my saw has something to glide across. And then I set the angle on the saw and we just rip it on down. Alright, and now you see that piece came off when I did that cut, and now we got a good beveled edge here. And so whenever the room goes out, the carpet will sit over that. Now if you have linoleum, you got to be a lot more precise with this cut. You see how mine goes, and it's got some little jags. It's not really that big of a deal because this is going to be carpeted, so it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. You'll never notice that underneath the carpet. But yeah, now we're gonna put it up on the sawhorses again, and we're gonna put the weatherproofing on the bottom side. Now we got it flipped over, and we're gonna put Darko on there. That's this weatherproofing. So we've already measured it out. We're gonna put contact cement on here, and then put the Darko on top, and that'll be our weatherproofing. So the way I do it, we lay the material on first. Of course, you want to spray it off, get all the dirt and dust off of there. And then I glue down the first 2 foot, and then I roll everything back and glue it down 3 feet at a time. Let's just make sure that you don't come up short. You don't start laying it crooked and stuff. And try to lay it as flat as possible. You don't want a whole bunch of huge wrinkles in it. But if we do end up getting wrinkles in it, we're going to get rid of them with a heat gun. And if you look closely, you can kind of see the wrinkles start to disappear as I go over it with the heat gun. You definitely don't want to hold that heat gun on it too long though, because you will burn through the material, and then you have to take it all off and start all over again, and you do not want to do that. And then once we get all the wrinkles out, we're going to flip it back over, and all of the excess we're going to staple down using 1/2 inch staples. And then we're going to go through with a razor knife and cut off any of the excess. And that's pretty much it. This floor is done and it's ready to be installed. That's all there is to it, guys.